At 4:05 p.m. Madam Clerk, can we do roll, please?
Director Burnworth?
Here.
Director Grissom?
Here.
Director Medard? Director Proctor?
Here.
Director Berker?
Present.
Director Valdez?
Here.
Director Garcia?
Here.
Would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we move on to consider approval of the agenda. In the case of an emergency, items will be added to the agenda by a majority vote of the Board of Directors. An emergency is defined as a work stoppage, a crippling disaster, or other activity that severely imperils public health, safety, or both. Items on the agenda may be taken out of sequential order as their priority is determined by the Board of Directors. The Board may take action on any item appearing on the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I so move.
A second.
I have a motion by Gitzel and a second by Proctor. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Now we'll move on to public comments limited to items only on the agenda. Do we have anybody here for public comments? Seeing none.
Madam Chairman,
Yeah?
this is Ron Rubin on Zoom.
Mr.
May
Rubin,
I speak?
you can give your comment, and you'll be limited to 3 minutes.
Okay, so you're going to go into closed session to consider your agreement with South Central Regional Medical Center. I don't know what your terms are anymore at all, and I am really getting concerned because they've how much money they've lost, and this year so far, and they don't seem to have any plan to correct their losses. At least, UC San Diego Health has had 8 years to fix the hospital, and all they've done is take it deeper into debt. And so I'll remind you of that again. So make sure that you don't bankrupt the whole healthcare district before we even get a chance to start. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any other public comments? Seeing none, we'll move into closed session.
For the folks on the Zoom, we're going to put you in a waiting room, and we will bring you out when we resume open.
Or not, but I'll go ahead and call us back into open session at 4:50 p.m. So, is there anything to report?
There was no reportable action taken during closed session.
Thank you. Okay, so that brings us down to our discussion and consideration of possible action on the following items. Item 8A is the professional services agreement with DTA Municipal Solutions for financial consulting services.
Yes, and I'll take this item, Madam Vice Chair. This is a PSA with DTA Municipal Solutions with a not to exceed amount of $15,000. I just got an email about 1 hour ago from DTA. They're requesting some revisions to this PSA. One of them is to have the not to exceed at $16,000, and a couple other items that we'll have to negotiate that I think are non-substantive, just kind of like striking out little words in the PSA. But this scope of work was recommended by DRG to assist the Ivhd with a bonding capacity analysis. So we're happy to answer any questions. The proposal that was submitted by DTA is attached. The fee schedule for their proposed service providers is on page 3. Our financial advisor thinks this is work that needs to be done in order to determine basically the funding mechanism.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Is this to determine our bonding capacity as we are right now, or what our capacity would be if we were able to acquire El Centro Regional?
Yes.
Both.
Thank you.
Sure.
So we'll have both sides of the coin?
Yeah, it depends on how things go the next week.
So even without El Centro Regional, it's still,
Yeah.
Yeah, we can still do a bonding capacity analysis to make sure Ivhd is re-rated with, or what the funding mechanism should look like, just with Pioneers and Lexico if need be, or the whole picture if it works out. And the PSA is our standard terms that we've used with our other consultants.
And you don't believe that the other changes?
So my recommendation would be to approve subject to non-substantive revisions approved by legal counsel. Because I just got it when I was driving over here and I didn't have a chance to do a deep dive yet. If they're unacceptable, I'll just say no and we'll bring it back to a future board meeting.
Okay.
If it's just minor stuff and changing the 15 to a 16,000, I think that's fine.
Okay, so would someone like to make a motion, or do we have any other questions?
I make a motion to approve the professional service agreement with DTA Municipal Solutions for financial consulting services, bonding capacity analysis not to exceed $16,000, subject to any legally approved non-substantive changes.
I second that.
We have a first by Garcia, second by Mr. Proctor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstains?
Abstain.
One abstention. Motion carries 4-1.
401.
Okay, 4-0-1. Sorry, I can do math. Yeah. Okay, that brings us down to 8B, which is the second amendment to professional service agreement with Berkeley Research Group.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The second amendment, so this is the second amendment to the professional services with Berkeley Research Group. The first amendment was authorized, I believe, in December. The second amendment proposes to increase the scope of work and change the payment cap by $200,000 more. So the new payment cap is $550,000 with a contingency of $50,000. The amendment to the scope of work that was not included before, so the BRG original scope, which you could see in the original agreement, is financial consulting services that assist us through the negotiation with ECRMC, the acquisition of PMH. What this new scope would do is include some financial modeling for improving the efficiency healthcare system of Ivhd. It will include extensive financial modeling and integrate the views of PMH and ECRMC management with the consultant's recommendations. So this will either be, depending on how stuff pans out, a look at PMH, Lexico facilities, figuring out how to best, model for financial success that system. Or if we can get a deal with El Centro and ECRMC, it will be looking at all of the financials to figure out how to best integrate both hospitals and the Lexico facilities into one financially successful model. So it's that financial modeling which was not included in the first scope of work. The rates don't change, it's just an increase on the payment cap. All other terms are the same apart from the added scope of work.
Any questions?
I have a question. How are we going to integrate the urgent care center with El Centro, Regional, and Pioneers if Dr. Tyson has a lease agreement for at least 5 years?
Well, the integration that would be contemplated by this PSA is the revenues from the lease that we have with Dr. Tyson. And then we're not sure what's going to happen on the other half. And so if we're going to renegotiate and amend that contract, it would take that into account. If not, then you're right, there's not much to do because we're a landlord and we have a lessee running the urgent care. So it would just be integration of those revenues.
And even so, on part of that, you have to remember, on the other side, even if we did give it to him, he can't have all of it because he can't have a pharmacy. So we'll still have to provide that and figure out a way to provide that service there. And so that would have to be integrated into that.
Yeah,
'Cause
the
he can't do
pharmacy
it.
was planned for Heflin Memorial Healthcare District to have someone there and run it,
Exactly.
and to help the community get their medication if they can't afford it. So Dr. Tyson wasn't part of the pharmacy at that time.
But that is on that other side that we'll have to take into consideration with all of this.
So that'll be part of the plan. That'll be part of the financial modeling too.
Any other?
Would that include the urgent and
Madam Chair?
valley endoscopy as well?
Yeah, yep.
And another thing, I thought on the email for the special meeting, it was only to decide on the terms with ECRNC. And I haven't had any time to look at this proposals. I'm just getting it right now. So I'm not comfortable voting on it.
So did they merge your email already? Because I got all the attachments and I read them all.
I tried to merge my email, but I couldn't do it. I don't
Okay.
know, so.
Okay, just want to make clear that they are there, so when you get it, you'll see them there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
but
they're
I didn't
online
see it
too.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So did we the motion?
Do we want?
I'll make a motion to approve the Second Amendment to the professional service agreement with Berkeley Research Group LLC, amend the scope of work and increase payment cap from $350,000 to $550,000.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a first by Garcia, a second by Mr. Proctor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there any discussion before you vote?
We had our discussion.
Yeah, the board had its discussion, and there were no public comments submitted at the beginning of the item, but Mr. Rubin, if you'd like to give a comment, you have about a minute left on your time from your initial comments.
Okay. I was just wondering if you were happy with the reports that Berkeley Research Group has been giving you. I'm assuming they've been reporting and putting it in writing, so you'll have something to read to help you track all of this. Is that true?
Public comment is not a back and forth. The board is.
This is on non-public comment, ma'am. It's discussion about the amendment you're just about to approve.
Yes, but the rights of the public are not to participate in the board's discussion. The rights of the public are to provide public comment, either in general or on items on the agenda. So your comment is a public comment on this item, which has been heard and appreciated, but the board is always advised not to engage in back and forths with the public regarding agenda items. And then I'll also just let you know, the BRG stuff is, a lot of that stuff is protected because the scope of BRG's work is related to the negotiations with El Centro Regional and the city of El Centro, which is protected by non-disclosure agreements, which is why there's not kind of public reports from BRG.
And I'll use the last of my minute it just seems like having a non-disclosure agreement between two public entities should be illegal. If it's not, it should be. Because there's no way the people of the Imperial County are going to know what our liabilities are until you guys have approved everything. And I believe that will create some kind of a stir, even if you haven't heard it yet. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you. Okay, with that having been added into the record, We do have a motion and a second on the floor, and I did try to call for the vote, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Okay, motion carries 401. Thank you. Okay, that brings us down to the engagement agreement with Squire Patton Bog LLC for bond counsel legal opinion.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. This did come in late. This proposed engagement letter was just circulated yesterday because we have been in discussions with Squire Patton Boggs, they're a law firm, to engage in bond counsel services to provide a bond opinion relating to the Pioneers Memorial Healthcare District's bond and the bond covenants. So part of the conversation is we need a legal opinion that discusses the dissolution of PMH and Ivhd's takeover, and the legal opinion needs to be written to assure bondholders that that's not a breach of the covenant that PMH had when they took out the bonds. If this is not a dissolution, certain bond covenants are, for example, you can't this or you can't that. This is something that was not within Pioneer's control. So if the dissolution happened to them, they didn't elect to dissolve, and it was compelled by law. So I don't think there's going to be too much of a issue with that opinion, but we do recommend hiring bond counsel to render that opinion. And I just will point your attention to, the proposed sort of budget on page 2 is for the opinion about the bonds issued by or on behalf of Pioneers will not be less than, but is generally not expected to exceed $1,500. We also, bringing on Squire will also allow us to...
1,500?
I'm sorry, $15,000. I'm so sorry, $15,000. Their rates are also in this paragraph. They're very expensive, but bond lawyers are usually very expensive. If we bring on Squire Patton Boggs, they would also be helpful in rendering opinions if ECRMC and the City of El Centro and Ivhd can come to terms on a proposed deal, because they would be able to assist with the bond opinions relating to the ECRMC bonds as well, and ensuring that the financials sort of stay separate and how to deal with those covenants. So it's our opinion of our firm as general counsel to bring on bond counsel who specialize in this to render this opinion. If you want more time with this, we can have more time. We can bring this back to the March meeting if you want more time with this engagement agreement. It's pretty standard, and you have options to terminate, and they have run conflict checks, and they don't have any conflicts with any of the entities involved, which is voluminous. There's a lot of entities involved with the bonding for PMH.
Question, how urgent is this as far as, so we do have the Brawley people paying, and we also have Heffernan folks district as well paying on their bonds as well, right? So do we have...
That's different, yeah, that's taxes.
Okay. Are there things that we need to address right now, or is this the time to put them in the game, so to speak, because we don't know where we stand with El Centro? Because if we don't come to terms with El Centro, then we just go about one bond, or if we do, then that's a different picture there too.
I think we got to bring them on now. I think we need an opinion about the Pioneers bonds immediately.
Because we have an existing bond.
Oh,
Yeah, the
yeah.
sooner the
We
better.
need to find out
Ideally, this would
where
have
we
been
stand
something,
with
that we
it.
would have done before we even merged with Pioneers, is have this opinion lined up and ready to go.
Because it's
So-
part of the bond covenant.
Yeah, and Chris would be authorizing future, work under these terms, under their rates, if we did want to proceed
Gotcha.
with the El Centro deal. So they would be available as bond counsel to us there, but for now, the immediate scope of work is really just the Pioneers bonds, is getting that legal
Yeah,
opinion.
we have a bond. Yeah. Did you guys find out who owned it?
A lot of people, it's
Yeah,
like a
because we
mom
didn't
and
even
pop
know who the
shop.
owner was. So.
Yeah, it's not like the El Centro bonds that are held by one majority bondholder, it's
Very spread.
dispersed throughout the market,
Kind of like et al.
which makes it more complicated.
Yes. I think we better pass this one.
Is that a motion?
That's my motion. Better get busy with that one.
Okay, so we have a motion.
I'll second.
And Enola Rooker, and a second by James Garcia.
I'll second that we better pass this one.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining?
Abstain.
Motion carries 401. Thank you. Okay, that brings us down to item 8D, which is the medical staff report, recommendations for the medical executive committee for medical staff membership and or clinical privileges, policies, procedures, forms, or other related recommendations. And we have quite a packet that we received on that, and if I'm understanding correctly, we need to get something done today, correct?
Right, on that one, the first part of that has
Can
the,
you all hear Chris okay, or do you need to step up to the microphone? Online people,
I think they probably need you to step up.
Okay.
Yeah.
because I know it's hard to hear if you're not on the microphone.
so yeah, the first page of that, or actually kind of first and second pages are those things that are reappointments or new appointments for credentialing purposes for those providers to be able to provide services in our hospital. And so those are extremely important to continue the care that's being done right now. And so those are the ones that are going to be very important. The other stuff is also obviously important as well. It's just policies that they've reviewed already and need to be approved by the board so that they can go into their policy set, which is all about their medical stuff there. So there is quite a bit, and it goes through each one of those situations for the board's information. There is a credentialing committee that meets and goes over all of the credentialing portions of it to make sure that everybody meets all of the criteria. And then that credentialing committee then takes it to the MEC, the medical exec committee, and says we've vetted these folks, they're ready to go. And then the MEC will approve those, and then that's what comes to you as a board. The same thing happens under the policies. There's a group that meets for them, that reviews the policies, pushes the ones forward that are ready to go. And then those are the ones that are presented to the medical executive committee. And then the medical executive committee will approve those, and then they come to the board for final approval to be able to be put into our system. So there's multiple steps in that process before it comes to you guys to approve.
And I do sit in on MEC meetings. I was appointed to that. And there are department heads, physicians, and they meet also monthly. So those reports are in there as well, but this is for these folks to practice right away. So it's very important because they have their effective date March 1st. So
I do have a question.
in order to staff the hospital.
So are any of these individuals, these doctors, are they in leadership positions where it's required that they be board certified?
But that's in our bylaws.
Yeah, it's basically the bylaws of the MEC on how that part works. In some cases, there could be situations where there is
I don't know if anybody can hear me, but I can't hear anything that's going on anymore.
I think they muted it.
Yeah, there's no audio.
Oh, you did the wrong
Oh,
thing.
how are we muted?
Right now?
Yeah. Can you, I don't have.
So we can't hear what's going on?
Mr. Rubin, can you hear us?
No,
No, it
it
still
still,
shows
it
right
still
here.
has a
And
little
open
mute
meeting.
microphone.
Unmute, hold on.
Okay.
Can you hear us now?
I heard you.
All right,
Okay,
perfect.
I apologize. Somehow we got muted. That was not intentional, it was accidental. So, Chris?
So yeah, that's all based off of the bylaws that the medical executive committee puts together on if there's a requirement for board certification or be board eligible. And so that's all goes through what they set up for each of the, some of them can be specific to a certain area or they can make it broad, but those are all within their bylaws.
And the credentialing committee actually looks at those bylaws and follows those guidelines as far as giving them privileges.
Yeah, well,
So
what type of
it's
privileges they
better.
can have.
So it's your recommendation that we go ahead and approve.
Yes, it would be my recommendation that all of the privileges and policies and procedures and so forth be approved by the board.
Okay. Any questions, concerns? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I so move to approve the MEC membership and clinical privilege policy procedure forms or other related. Oh, you have questions?
I'm sorry. I thought we were taking each one at a time, like the medical staff and then the clinical privileges and the
Oh,
policy.
I thought it was all together.
Okay, because I do have a question about the, some of the forms. I was looking specifically for Narcan. Is that on a different form or?
It can be, yeah. So these are all the ones that are due to be renewed or reviewed. And so they, like, you'll see every month you're going to have a new set that will come through. And it'll be when that comes available.
Oh, okay.
Then they'll review it, they'll put it together. If there's changes that have to happen, they'll be in that section 8 like we had explained before. So you'll be able to see exactly what changed in that. And so every month you're going to get a new set.
So the reason I bring that up is obviously there's been an uptick nationwide with overdoses. And I know sometimes some of the police departments or the emergency services, ambulances, and even hospitals sometimes run into a shortage problem. So if you could please, down the road, just check into that to see if we have enough Narcan, available.
Yeah, we can do that.
Even if we're overstocked, who cares?
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions or concerns? We have a
Did you get a second?
motion on the floor by Berker, and we need a
I'll
second.
second.
And a second by Garcia. And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So that motion carries
Thank you.
5-0.
Thanks.
So, okay. So get all those in there. Okay. That brings us down to items for our future agenda. I don't know if we have anything specifically. I do see where regular and special board meetings will be held as determined by the Ivhd board. And we may need to start having some discussions at our next meeting with respect to when we're going to have our meetings, because Chris has presented some concerns with the fact that our meetings being on the second Thursday of the month doesn't give the financial people and others time to get their reports in. So we kind of, I don't know if we really discussed it, but I think at the next meeting we probably need to discuss either meeting twice or how we're going to handle that, moving the meeting so that we actually can get things done in a timely manner. Now that PMH has come on board, we have to be mindful of that. So keep that in your minds as to what might work best. Our next regular meeting is March 13th. And I'm also hoping we're going to be hearing from our ad hoc on our branding and whatnot at our next meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to meet next week
Yeah.
with the group to finalize all that so they can bring a recommendation to the board.
Okay, awesome. Anything else for the next meeting?
Do you want us to talk about bringing back a proposed revised, so in January, we approved that regular board meetings sort of calendar. Want to bring that back with proposed location alternatives, and then I don't know if it's worth having a discussion about maybe every other month, or, I don't know, I could talk to Chris offline about recommendations, but having other regular meetings in between regular meetings so that the board doesn't have to call special meetings for stuff like the credentialing stuff. Or would you like to entertain other regular meeting dates that are not, I don't mean dates like March 2nd, I mean instead of second Thursday, fourth Thursday, or another day.
Previously we met twice. We had our financials, and then we had the hospital operations.
Yeah.
And I think because most of us are new to the board, I think it probably, because the meetings have gone so long lately, I think that meeting twice, once for operations and the other for financials, because we have so many questions. And also too, hopefully, El Centro will come in eventually, and then we'll have a lot more to look over.
Right.
So I think probably we should set certain days, and I think the financial should be at the end of the month, and maybe our operations at the first of the month,
Like the second the second Thursday for operations and that
yeah.
last
That way
Thursday.
it's not like back to back.
Right, yeah,
What
okay.
what do you think about that, Chris?
Yeah, that works. It would be finance and MEC.
Yeah, finance and
Because
industry.
the MEC meets after we meet on the second, because they have theirs, it's just the third Tuesday.
Yeah, third Tuesday.
So, yeah, they always
Fourth
end their
Thursday,
meeting
yeah.
after that, so we would include them in that portion.
Yeah,
of
the
it.
MEC and the financial, but the other thing is all the operations and the
Mhm.
contracts and what's happening and all the reports from the departments.
Okay, so we can bring a new calendar with, and if you don't like them, you just strike them at the next meeting, or you could talk about them, but we'll plan on putting that
But
on the
yeah,
agenda.
for a while, probably we should meet twice.
Okay,
And I think we do need to get it on the agenda and get it somewhat settled for the
Yeah.
benefit of the public as well.
Yeah.
So they know, and we know that we're gonna need them. And personally, I'm not in favor of being here for 4.5, 5 hours at
Correct.
one time. So I'd rather split it up a couple of days if possible. So yes, definitely have that on our agenda. And I'm sure we'll have other things that are going to be on there coming up. So if there's nothing else, anybody? Then it is 5:19 and I declare us adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Did a fun job there on this.